Hey folks, this is the treasure hunting series. I found a rare vintage or antique Monopoly game in my estate cleanup. Stay tuned, I'm going to tell you what I know about this game and what we found. Welcome back to Pine Meadows Hobby Farm. I'm your host, Jerry Hansen. I do these estate cleanups from time to time, and while I'm gathering stuff and I'm finding different artifacts, and I just recently went through these artifacts that I had stored away, and I'm gradually going through them piece by piece, and I found this 1935 Parker Brothers board game called Monopoly. And it was complete with all of its tokens and everything. Let's take a look at it. Parker Brothers purchased the rights to the Monopoly game in 1935, and they introduced 6 original tokens: the battleship, the boot, the cannon, the thimble, the top hat, and the iron. Later in 1935, the race car was added to the game to make 7 Monopoly tokens, and shortly afterwards they added the purse, which made it 8. Over the next 12 months, 2 more pieces were added: the lantern and the rocking horse, which each of these pieces are very rare and hard to find. I wanted to add that when Monopoly first came out, the makers recommended that people use their own tokens, such as buttons, for playing the game. But then when Parker Brothers added the tokens to the game, they added these little metallic tokens. Well, during the war, they had to use the metal for the war effort. So they came up with a wood pawn, not much unlike what you find in the chess game. These wooden pawns substituted during the war effort the metal tokens. After the war, Parker Brothers decided to make their own pieces out of pewter. The first new pieces to be introduced was the wheelbarrow in 1940s, along with a horse and rider, along with a Scottish terrier. The car also gained a driver in the 1940s, although only lasted until 1950. In 1946, the cannon was replaced with a similar howitzer. So the original tokens in 1935 was the cannon, which was retired in 1946. The iron, introduced in 1935, they retired that in 2013. The thimble, also introduced in 1935, they retired that in 2017, along with a boot. The top hat, introduced in 1935, still endures to this day. The battleship, 1935, is still endures today. The race car, same. The purse, however, 1935 was introduced, and they retired that in 1950. Now here's a piece I've never seen before, was a lantern, until I opened this vintage box. Introduced in 1936, it retired in 1950 along with the rocking horse. The horse with a rider, introduced in 1940, they retired that in 2007 along with the wheelbarrow. But they retired the wheelbarrow in 2017 in recent times. The Scotty dog, introduced in 1940, still remains in the board. A howitzer cannon, introduced in 1946, it retired in 2007. They've added others since then, and I don't have any of those, but we're just talking about the vintage that we have. Now, these community chest cards and the chance cards are unique and rare, as in they're text only, as opposed to the current ones, which do have graphics on them. All but 4 of the chance cards are the same as far as the text goes with the modern cards. However, there's 4 that the vintage cards have that the old cards did not. Parking fine, $15. You are assessed for street repairs, $40 per house or $115 per hotel. or your Christmas fund matures, collect $100 and pay school tax of $150. The same applies to the community chest text-only cards as opposed to the graphic cards of today. The text-only cards has 4 cards that they don't have with the modern, and the modern has 4 cards that they don't have with these vintage ones. The ones that the vintage has is pay a $10 fine or take a chance. We're off the gold standard, collect $50, go back to Baltic Avenue, or pay your insurance premium of $50. It's nice to see that Monopoly, when it was invented, they stuck with the prices. So as far as Monopoly goes, over the decades, hasn't succumbed to inflation. They still remain the same prices. With the exception of the actual cost of the board game itself. This is an original card from this package. Now, I do have cards of 4 different Monopoly games over the decades. From 1935 to 1974 and possibly even newer. And in this video you could see the difference in the color tone of the actual paper stock. It just gradually gets darker and darker, and that just depends on the paper stock and the tone that they had of the day. Now, speaking of tone, let's look at the houses, the house tokens, and also the hotels. There's a difference there too. Now, before the proliferation of plastics, they made things out of wood. In this video, you'll see that there's 3 different tones of houses of 3 different eras of board games of the Monopoly game. The lighter tone, the lighter stain wood houses, along with the hotels, and then you got a little bit darker stain, which goes into more current. And then what we have in our board games today, we have the plastic houses and hotels. Now, I noted that in the couple of decades later, they added some text to the hotels. It says Grand Hotel on that wooden text. Now, you'll notice the slightly variance of colors between the 2 monies, between the vintage and the current. There's another difference between all the denominations, and the fact is vintage was cut a little bit longer or wider than the current ones, so you can just stack them on end and you can see there is a difference, and that's true through all the bills to denote which one's truly vintage and which one's modern. An earlier board, if you find a Monopoly board that says patent pending, that has more value than this board. This has a print date of 1935, so this is an original board when it was purchased by Parker Brothers. In current days, it's printed and manufactured by Milton Bradley, who bought the rights from Parker Brothers. While we're on the subject of cards, the land cards stayed the same, no change, with the exception of they just changed up the text slightly. So how much value does this original 1935 Monopoly board go for? Well, I found a variety of prices, anywhere from $400 clear up to $900. There is also a value on the cards alone: community chest, text only, and chance text only. They go for around $20 respectively. The board game was so complete, with the exception of it did not have the original box. They had made this homemade box to contain this Monopoly set. It also came with the original rules. Yes, these are the original, and it came with a little bit of the history and instructions. And it also came with this little card. Get this, look at the price. That card was in the box, and then this Parker Brothers advertisement was in there. They were advertising some other games that they had. I've never heard of some of these, but look at the price. $1.50 for that one, $1 for that one. Dig. Sorry, sold for $1.50. If you want the club edition, it's $2. Camelot, great fun, $1.25. Now, today we're seeing inflation. It's ridiculous, and here's some more. So I thought you guys might be interested in the Parker Brothers game, 1935 edition, with all of its tokens intact. I think this is rare. This is a rare find because everything is there except for the original box. I'm Jerry Hansen, your host from the treasure hunting series. I do state cleanups from time to time. If you're interested in finding out more about what I'm talking about and how I do these estate cleanups, how I find them, please check out my vlogs on estate cleanups. I have a whole series of videos I do that. And I'll show you all kinds of things I've gotten free. I've acquired a pickup, a tractor, a couple of RVs, a boat, a whole bunch of tools, just a lot of things I could use on my own homestead just for free. Yeah, check out those videos. Please stay tuned to more videos as I upload them. You can do that by subscribing and clicking that bell icon. That'll alert you to new videos as I do upload them. Hey, give us a thumbs up. Click that like button, give us a thumbs up, and also click that share button. Sharing my videos on your social media platforms really helps out the show a lot. Leave a comment, compliment, or a tip. I enjoy tips. And please remember, always be safe, always be kind. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye-bye.